Hey there, listeners. Why do we keep coming back all the time? Because we've got great guests to interview. This week it's super exciting. We've got Diego Rodriguez here, a CAS firm owner who's, I think, killing it. He may not say he is, but we're here to talk about his successes, his pitfalls, and everything he's got going with building a successful CAS firm. And I don't mean to leave you out, Christine. Hello, you are our expert.
Hello. And yes, thank you for Diego, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited. Within our podcast, we have a lot of just different size firms, and I really think that your story will resonate with the listeners. So we're really excited to jump in.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here with you guys.
So, Diego, if you wouldn't mind, give us your background and kind of where you came from and where you are today and what led you to having your own practice.
Yep. So, like everybody else, when I was in college, if you didn't make it to the Big Four, you weren't a CPA. I started
Right. Yep.
with Ernst Young in the audit department there, and from there, I moved on to industry to do some internal audit. Within there, I continued to grow in that area, and then I transitioned to FP&A. So I did FP&A for two different Fortune 500 companies. And on the second one, I was getting burnt out. I was doing such a good job that they terminated my co-person. We were both managing North America, and I inherited the work, and I basically did it for almost a year. And at that point, I was like, all right, I want to try something new. And at that point, I started a my own practice, and I was focusing mainly on 1040s, right, which is like the low hanging fruit, and it was something easy to start at. And then at night, I went to Bryant University and did a master's degree in taxation as well, just to build up my confidence in the tax area. Being a CPA, I did best in the regs. So I was like, why am I doing audit, right? I should have been doing tax all along. So I went through there. From there, I quickly realized, you know what, doing 1040s is very difficult to make a living and scale. So I did a little bit of business returns, and then I really started diving into the bookkeeping, right, which we now call accounting services. In that transition, I relocated to North Carolina, joined the firm. I did that for a couple of years, and then I came back on my own. And since 2022, I've been growing a CAS practice, right? So I went through the CPA.com CAS workshops, and that's where I met Christine. And then this past December 2025, I was in Washington, D.C. for the Digital CPA conference where Christine and the Infinite Ties team were there. And although we didn't cross paths at the conference, shortly thereafter we connected.
Yep, yep, I love it. So there's so many things I want to ask you, but first, before we like get into you building your practice, when you say you were in the FP&A role in space, I'm really interested in that. At that time when you were building that, was that with technology within those private industries, or was that something that you were having to create internally? And tell us about
Yep.
that.
So no, at that time I was an employee, right? So I was working at for Covidien, which is now Medtronic, which is a very big medical device manufacturer. And I was supporting the team that basically gave all the data to the board of directors and the CEO and the CFO. So it was a very high level position. Although I was a senior FP&A analyst, I'm not going to oversell myself on it. But basically, interesting enough, for such a big company, we were still doing a lot of the work in Excel. So it
Right.
was very Excel driven. We weren't using those tools that are out there now. We were using Space, which is basically like a retrieve tool for you to use within the big ERPs. But once we got the data there, we were pretty much manually working with it to get to the outputs that we're going to present to them.
Yep. And I would just love your perspective on this because I feel like that experience, that expertise and that experience really taught you a lot in the FP&A space and how you feel like that contributed to your success in this CAS space and then how you feel about the technology that's doing that now and how people are growing up now in this different way within CAS versus how you grew up and where it landed you. So I'd love your
Yeah.
perspective?
It's twofold because the first one is like, wow, a $10 billion company is being run off Excel, right? So it goes to show you that you don't need to have all the fancy tools to be able to do the work. And it kind of reminds me a little bit about how my dad told me when I was your age, we were doing things manually instead of using calculators, right? You guys got calculators and that's dumbing you down. And at some to an extent, like the software is kind of doing that because when you learn it the old way, you learn the bolts of why things have to be a certain way. And you really really understand what goes into projecting salaries, right? A lot of times people just take gross pay and project that out and they forget about like payroll taxes, which could be substantial. So like all those things really became the foundation to learning FP&A and having good conversations with business owners to help them understand, right, what are the metrics that they're trying to achieve and how those numbers can tell the story for them. So as they're making decisions, they're able to drive the business where they want to go. So because of the experience that I have, I'm actually not too deep into using the new technologies. For example, like a giraffe because I kind of default to doing it the way that I've done it before, at least in that area. But with other areas, because I learned it with technology, it's a lot easier for me to do it that way from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, Christy, because I know we talk a lot of, to just different CAS leaders on where they are with tech. And so I just love this perspective, and the differences of what we're hearing in the industry.
Well, what I love in that, it was a tech question, but Diego, you brought up something that's so important. Christine, you and I talk about soft skills all the time. Diego's saying that's where he learned to have those conversations
Right.
that
Right.
have helped him in the CAS space because you can't avoid it. You have to have those deeper conversations with clients. You have to know what questions to ask so that you can provide them with the insights that they need. You don't know about them, you can't provide them with the insights. So I love hearing that you've also developed these soft skills, Diego, that have helped, project you forward with a successful CAS firm. I just wanted to point that out, Christine.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think we could do a whole nother podcast just on the tech and that soft skill piece and how you grew up
Firms
in.
would love it. They would love it.
Exactly. So we might let's mark that down. It
Waiting right now.
right.
Mhm.
So Diego, in growing and creating and trying to scale your CAS business, take us through the last couple years of what that has looked like for you and what worked, what you struggle with.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't noticed by now, I have an accent, right? So I was born in Dominican Republic, and I moved to the States with my family when I was 5 years old. And my last name being Rodriguez, the Latino community reaches out to me naturally, right? Because there are not many CPAs that can speak Spanish. And that is what led me to the niche in construction because there's a lot of Spanish speakers also in construction. And in our firm, I mean, we are bilingual, right? So we do support non Spanish speakers. But in growing the firm with limited resources, I was also having to get resourceful, right? So I started with, like many people do, hiring offshores and looking at India and the Philippines and the time change, I wasn't very sold on it. And then also in corporate, I did manage a team in the Philippines. And I've often found that as we developed the resource and they became better, they would leave us to go get a day job. Because I'm a strong believer that the best talent wants to work during the day. And that led me to start building a team in Dominican Republic because we're in the same time zone. And because my clients speak Spanish, they can be client facing as well.
And the
Uh,
DR is awesome, by the way.
yes.
Gorgeous.
So they're not giving advice, but at least they're able to help with the day-to-day stuff as far as collecting documents and following up on basic things, which makes it a lot helpful because with the Philippine resources, that wasn't the case. And that gave me the opportunity to start to scale and leveraging the team, right? So as I'm leveraging them, we were able to go from having a handful of clients to being able to grow up to 20 clients. But I also realized that with that team comes limitations. And now the evolution is like, okay, well, how do we first start charging what we're worth, right? I think every CPA, for the most part, really does lowball their worth. It's something in our DNA is like, you lowball yourself, go be a CPA. Um,
Yeah, hear it all the time. Yes. Yeah.
100%, right? So going through like, finding a community like Infinite Ties helps you and listening to this podcast as well, because I listened to some of the previous episodes and I saw that same traits that I'm seeing in myself, right? Which is assertive, but it also is like we gotta stand up for ourselves as a profession. But
Value,
yeah,
value.
being able to charge that price. I think another thing that I found along the way that has helped me a lot was um I was having a difficult conversation with one of my best clients, and they're a difficult client because they have expectations, right? And sometimes we get clients that don't have expectations, which makes them easier, but they makes them difficult in other areas as well. And I was having a conversation with him, and he was telling me, he goes, I understand that you niche yourself as a CPA that speaks Spanish and that you work in construction, but your real niche is that you care. Like, when my team talks to me about what you're doing and what your firm is doing for us and how we're scaling, we can see that you care about us. The person that we used to work with before we came to you, we told us our big dream that we wanted to become $1 million. They do home assisted care. And when they got to me, they were probably like around 50, 60,000 a year. But I said, I see that happening. They're $8 million in
Wow,
a year and a half.
wow.
They grew significantly. And the difficult conversation was that I initially, when they were such a small business, I priced them at $450 a month. And now I got to bring them up significantly, right? And I'm like, well, how do we bridge this gap? Because for me, that was like a huge gap. And as we were going through that conversation, right, we were talking about some of the pain points, but also how the services that we provided to them help them scale, right? And especially like just giving them their monthly financial statements on an accrual basis for them to be able to match income with expenses just really helped them. And that was very rewarding, right? And that's kind of where I said it, like, CAS is the way to go, because it's not about the pricing. I mean, we want to get paid what we're worth, but it's also like having those conversations and seeing the clients grow and seeing how they're going from a very low tax bracket to a high tax bracket, and they're achieving their dreams, and we're helping them all along the way.
It's not about the pricing, it is about the value on both sides, the value to the client, but also the value within the firm. That's really what you were saying, and I didn't want to just move past that quickly.
Yep,
Correct.
Yeah,
yep.
well done on that client, by the way. Holy cow, they must be happy.
I
Oh,
love
100%. Yeah. I mean, some of these guys were like literally like they were living paycheck to paycheck, right? And when this whole thing came together, I mean, it was also just being in the right place at the right time. Another um, business had closed, and they absorbed all that business, and they really propelled them. But they also had the maturity to be able to capitalize on it. And that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for opportunities every day so we can also capitalize on it ourselves.
yeah. And, eh, Diego, what stood out to me, though, that I love that you said your niche is that you care. And so how do you think that you have conveyed that caring aspect of what you bring to your clients on a daily basis?
I give all the credit to my parents. I think they did a good job raising me with good values. And that transcends in my day-to-day conversations with people, right? I think it's looking beyond just self-interest and really looking what's best for them. And that's something that I also try to instill in the team is like, if we do right by our clients, they're going to do right by us. And we don't have turnover. Like, from 2022 to now, we maybe lost a client. I can't even think of one right now, but we're not a firm that has high turnover. We really do try our best to just be that person to the business. Like, we get calls about stuff that happens that are not accounting related, but they just say, like, you help us so much that let's at least start with you, right? And we built good relationship with financial advisors, with attorneys, so that we can also share that with it's hard to find professionals that care as well. So we're building a network of people who are also going to come in and take you, along the way. Because some of our clients are not born in the U.S. They don't really understand the inner workings of this country, and they really do need a hand holding to figure out, for example, something as simple as like, hey, how do I show someone how to update a W-4, for example, something as simple like that.
Right. I love it. So I know, we've had several conversations in the last several months, but tell us too about your struggles in building your CAS practice. We talked about your team. Um, but I know, just the whole model itself and those you now know how many pieces to the puzzle there are in building that scalable model. Tell us what you felt like was missing all of those years.
Yeah, I mean, now that I have the fans kit, I do Fancast kit. I do have all the pieces, but there was a time when I didn't, and through that journey, right, I find myself going through different coaching programs and spending quite a bit of money, somewhere around the 50K mark. And in one of these coaching programs, I'm getting fed Harmozy content, and I'm like, I could go get the book myself, right? But where we're trying to find our way, it's just people tell you like, oh, you got to build different tier pricing, right? And when you don't have the context of like, well, what should I include in every tier, right? Every client is different. The touch point is different. Now, am I working with you monthly, weekly, or daily, right? Like those different things is a lot of time is hard to contextualize when somebody's telling you just create tier pricing.
Mhm.
Um, Similarly, right, that same thing is very difficult when somebody says, "Oh, you got to raise your prices," right? It's like, okay, well, how am I going to justify this, right? Um, and when you are able to have structure to it, right, and the kit doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you the framework to think through it so that you can arrive at those answers. And I think as soon as you do it, it's like the light bulb just turns on. Like when I went into this, I said, hey, I just want to see if I can get to $1 million firm. And when I was done with this exercise, I'm finding myself that I can easily achieve 2.8 million. And it's not even that daunting. It's not that much more than what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And it just really underscores how much we're doing for our clients, how much we have to protect what we're giving away, because that is what's really stopping us from being able to get from where we're at to where we want to be as well.
I want to make clear really quick because I didn't know you were going to bring up the Fancast kit. So listeners know what that is, Christine, right? The Fancast kit is the program built by Infinite Ties that takes a firm owner and staff through all the pieces and parts of building a cast firm. It's programmed, it's self-paced. But what you were saying, Diego, is so true. I hear it all the time from firms because I talk to so many. They're like, there's a lot of cast information out there, but I'm getting it in pieces and parts. And even those pieces and parts, they're not hand holding parts that can take me through to the detail. And that's what you're getting from the Fancast kit. So, Christine, I don't know if you wanted to add on to that, but I didn't want listeners to be lost by that
Yeah, no,
reference.
thank you. And this wasn't this is not even a sales pitch on the kit.
Right. It
I
just
was
came
just
up.
so excited, like, that Diego, bought it and, the price point is $2,200 compared to the 50 plus $1,000 that he spent that he didn't really feel like he got
Woo.
out of. Um, but with that, just with what we're trying to give you within this kit, Diego, is exactly what you just said. It's really just laying out all of the aspects and really thinking through how you build your business model, where those clients are coming from, where those buckets are, how you're incentivizing your team, um, and pricing to Diego's point, in the tiers, like here's what you should be considering. And for example, like the cadence. We have the revenue streams because I don't think that a lot of CAS practices understand and think about all of the revenue streams that you really should be pricing for and that are separate revenue streams and some talking points with those clients. So I don't know, Diego, if you've got that far within it, but that's really what we are trying to do for people just like Diego to just help them catapult their revenue and success so much quicker than trying to figure this out on your own.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, like one of the things we identify is our team was working on the clients weekly, right? And they were like, wait a minute, we're not getting paid for that. We gotta scale back, right? And start right sizing the plans for the work that we're doing. So either we scale back a little bit of the work or we change the price a little bit. But that's the clarity, right, that we needed. And also a shout out to the CPA.com CAS workshop, right? Like I said, that's where I first met Christine. And really, that's what gave me the courage to say, I'm going to be a construction CAS practice. And that was very hard because, especially like as you're growing, you're getting phone calls from all different areas. And what I kind of said, all right, we'll do CAS construction first, and if that doesn't work, if our Spanish is like our secondary um, niche, if it's something in there that is a really good fit for our ideal client, we'll entertain it as well. But it's hard because a lot of times, like when people talk about the idea of turning down work, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, right? I'm trying to grow. But what I quickly learned and appreciated is that once you figure it out for one client, so for example, like in construction, there's a tool called Builder Trend, right? For job costing. Once we learn Builder Trend, we get phone calls from other clients who want to use it. We're not reinventing the wheel like we were when we worked with a dentist, an Amazon seller, and then, something else, a food truck. And that's really where we're seeing the scale and the economies of scales, which is exactly what we're looking for.
which is repeatable, right? It's just like that repeatable niche process. I love that. So what would you say, like when you are doing prospect calls or you're talking to new clients, um, how do you what would be your biggest aspect that you feel is conveying that value and where they say, yes, this I sign me up.
Yeah. So I'm going to be transparent with you. I am an introvert that disguises as an extrovert. So
It's
those,
two.
yeah, those calls
Yeah.
are hard, right? So
Yeah.
as far as prospects, most of it has been inbound leads. And what's been helpful is that our website is branded as construction, right? And when you first log in it for the first time, you have a prompt, right? English or Spanish. So it also kind of like serves both of the niches because we are in both languages. But I think the conversation is more along the lines of I work with a lot of people who either never worked with a CPA before or they don't have systems, right? So like I have a prospect right now that I'm working with, and then in the discovery call, they were talking about like, well, how I just want to see how we're going to be able to work with you to bring all our documents at the end of the year for you to prepare our taxes. I said, wait a minute, we don't work that way. And then I started telling them about the benefits of having QuickBooks Online and having monthly accounting, right? Because I told them anything that you're doing wrong, what you're not going to know until you get your taxes done in April, right? You missed 14 months of opportunities to take action. And that's where we're going to be valuable to you guys because we're going to have real-time conversations about what is happening in the business and what tax plan opportunities are available, right? So those are the little nuggets that I'm dropping along the ways that is helping convert clients. And then those that are already established is just basically telling them hearing their pain about how they work with somebody who doesn't understand the industry. And then just kind of coming back and saying, yep, we know those pains. We've seen it before. And without giving it all away, just giving them nuggets of how we've addressed it.
Gotcha. I had to write down several things so I didn't and Christy, I know you and I both do this, like, write down all of our thoughts while I was going,
Nice.
but
Yeah.
I feel that a lot of people will resonate with the introvert statement because I feel like a lot of business owners are introverted and they're just brilliant, brilliant people that, can bring so much value. So when I hear you say that, I also in turn heard you say, but the way that you have designed your website is what really drives people to you to easily open up those conversations. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yes, 100%. And something that was as a tax person, right, and or as a CPA, there's a tax credit for ADA compliant websites, right? So based on the size of my business, I got a 50% discount on building it, which also allowed me to splurge a little bit more and get something that met all the needs, right? So that I can get the intake forms and the information that we need so that we can follow up and start from the beginning with information in hand. And if somebody's not a good fit, we at least just reach back out and tell them, hey, you're not a good fit for us, and just keep it moving.
That's interesting. I love that. I love that. So when you do have these conversations, I'm just interested to understand because a lot of practices ask us to. When you're selling your tiers, are you feeling that you're able to come in and sell like the full service package? Or do you feel like you're getting in the door with it, just one piece of the package and then it turns into that full service model?
That's a very good question because with I try to sell the full service upfront. And I've encountered that when I don't get the sale of the full service and they want to come in at a more basic service, then we start blurring the lines where they're getting the basic service and we're fighting to try and get the advisory piece paid for. Right. So they're basically asking questions that would fall into advisory that were either given away for free, being transparent, or having conversations where we're saying this is out of scope. And now we're creating the sentiment that every time you call me, there's going to be a bill.
Right.
And we don't want to become exclusive. We want to make it so that once you're in the firm, you have access. Before you're a client, we're limiting your access, right? But once you're in,
Yeah.
we don't want to be the Spirit Airlines of CAS practices, right? We want you to be able to feel like you have a person on this team that you can call and you're getting the support that you're paying for. So from that perspective, I find that when we take somebody on, for example, we've made this mistake in the past of say, all right, we're going to just be just a bookkeeper for you. That brings our average down on um, our yield, well, not our yield, sorry,
Your margins. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
my margins exactly. It's bringing it down, and we kind of quickly have to intervene so that we don't keep giving it away each month.
Yep. Yep. And so what I hear you saying is you're really just going into it at that full service model out of the gate. That's where your margins are. And that's the clients that you're more likely to say yes to. And that's your ICP.
100%, yeah. So we want that client that wants both pieces, right? Because and we've also worked with clients that have in-house bookkeepers, but are still willing to pay for the advisory and they wouldn't sign up for that because they see the value in it, right? The moment that people start kind of looking for the nickel and dime approach is kind of where we try to stop the conversation and save their time and ours.
Yep. Yep. I love it. So with all of that you've done over the last several years, what would you say your biggest learning experience has been that you can share with the listeners that if you would have done something different that would have changed your trajectory or would have
Made your life
just
easier.
made your life easier? Yeah.
There's so many things. I'd probably say participating in the CPA.com training earlier on. I think that really opened my eyes to what as was. Before then, I would hear it on the weekly town halls, but it didn't really come to life there. I also found myself realizing that we were doing CAS, we weren't calling it, and we weren't charging it, right? So that's the reason why I think that that's been a good lesson learned. I think the other thing is networking a little bit more as well. Just not being afraid to go out there to talk to other people who are doing the same type of things. Because sometimes what I learned at Digital CPA is the little firms sometimes get lost in the shuffle, but when you start talking to the larger firm partners and cast leaders, we're basically the same level, and they're very open to sharing what they're doing at their practices. And sometimes I found ourselves teaching them just as they were teaching us, just because as a smaller practice, we're more agile and we can move things along a lot quicker. Where at a more bigger firm, you kind of have to go through different levels in IT and all this stuff to be able to implement a new tool.
Right. Right. I love that. I love that. And so and that's, part of the same what you're discussing is that networking and just learning from each other is also what we're trying to, build and create within Infinite Ties too, that you have peers that you can talk to and run things by. So we love that. So thank you for being a part of that as well. So all
Yeah.
right. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, yes, yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, you know, like oftentimes just adding a little bit more, like we're scared to fail, right? But I think the reward in life is taking those chances, right? Those moments when we're vulnerable, where we're scared, where we're going into our uncharted territory, and then we get past it and we kind of look back and say, you know, that was a little rough, but we made it and we're still tracking forward, right? Because we can live a very comfortable life where we don't take risks, but the risk is where the reward is, and we want that risk.
I love that. Well, I hope that you continue to enjoy your FanCas kit and you meet your 2.7 million dollar goal in the next 12 months or less.
12 months, I think, is a little aggressive. I would probably say maybe 18 to 24 months. We still got ways to go, but very much, we do have our Northern Star and we know where we're going, which is exactly what we needed.
Yep. Yep. And so when you hit that, we'll invite you back. And so then you'll share like maybe the last, 12 to 18 months of getting to your $2.7 million goal.
100%. I'm sure more nuggets for you then.
What a great conversation. Diego, thank you so much for sharing everything with us. I think a lot of what you said is truly, truly going to resonate with a lot of our listeners. So, listeners, please come back next time. Christine, thank you for being here as always. Diego, adios, mi nuevo, mejor amigo.
Well said, Christy.
Thank you. Did I say that right? I said goodbye to my new best friend because I just love you. And if I'm being honest, I think I have a bit of a crush now. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Fantastic listeners, please come back for more Cast Gold next time. That is our promise to you. And this is fantastic.